Welcome to the Mobile Armored Podcast Show, the podcast that transforms into the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. My name is Adam Moore, alongside my co-host and best friend, PJ McNerney. How's it going, PJ?
Yeah, I'm doing well today, and I'm excited for this episode on so many fronts. And I mean that genuinely. I realize sometimes I can be a little bit of a downer, but I love this episode, so I'm excited. I'm putting it out there right there. It kind of explains Panda Poo. But also, we've got a great guest
We do
star.
have a great guest.
So,
you all know him as Your Buddy Spooky on Instagram. We know him as our biggest fan. He is the one and only James Riley. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, guys. This is a real honor, a real treat. I gotta say.
It's a huge treat for us. You've been with us since day one. You've been reaching out to us, letting us know that you love what we're doing here. So we're just psyched to have you come in and join the fun.
This is going to be a lot of fun, I gotta say. This is a great episode.
So I have a question for you. What is it about this episode that you love so much? Because this is one of the episodes that you called out like way back when you had listened to like episode 2 or 3 of the podcast. Episode 40, Eyes of the Skull, was on that short list. So what is it about this episode that you love?
It's one of those things that actually, outside of the second season, it's one of the only times where like there's an acknowledgement that there are people behind those masks and that their lives are going to be in danger if something happens. You know, perfect example, as we'll see in the story, Miles Mayhem is like, what? Trakker? Oh my God. He's basically realizing if somebody were to tell Bane, oh, this is, by the way, this is Bruce Wayne. Oh, okay. That sort of thing.
Bruce Wayne, the billionaire playboy, is Batman?
I will break the bat.
Well, hey, so as we said, this is episode 40, Eyes of the Skull. Venom leader Miles Mayhem uses an ancient crystal skull that allows X-ray-like vision to see through Matt Trakker's mask and discover his identity. Mayhem then kidnaps Scott Trakker for ransom. And I mean, those are stakes right there, everybody. Like, like he knows Matt is the leader of Mask. He kidnaps his son. These are the highest stakes we've ever had, I think. Well, there was the comet they were trying to bring down to destroy all of Earth. But in terms of personal stakes for a character, these are the biggest we've ever had.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've gotten used to them doing the cartoonish stuff here and there, like, oh, we're chasing this, so we'll take all this money we could be funneling towards actual progress in science, maybe like anti-gravity things, or no, we'll just use it for terrorism. No, now we actually have like Venom actually behaving like a terrorist organization. Yes, we're going to kidnap this kid and we're going to hold on to him until you do X, Y, and Z. It's like, okay, finally, someone's actually doing something with it. And it always bothered me until I watched the. Did you guys actually get the original 65 episodes on DVD when they released by Shout Factory a couple of years ago?
No, I've only watched them online.
No.
Well, I watched them, of course, on TV, but also online. My long-suffering wife, who was like, I don't know what any of this means, but I appreciate that you do, and you appreciate this. That's great. She got me that for Christmas, and I sat down and I'm like, oh, there's actually bonus features. They have interviews here. And they interviewed a couple of the writers. And they were basically like, well, we were told, like one of them was like, hey, they just gave me a script. They said, here's the basics. You can't color outside these walls, but inside you can do whatever the heck you want. And just understand that it resets at the end of the episode. And one of the things was, there's no one member of the team gets hit and like, we know bullets, there's lasers instead of things like that. The basic kind of G.I. Joe logic. You don't hit the main characters. If you hit the main character, they get wounded, seriously wounded, but maybe they go to the hospital and they're fine by the end of the episode. I don't know why, but Hondo seems to be the one who's been getting the brunt of that multiple times. He's wound up in a hospital room, and him and Bruce are like,
Gloria got crushed once by Brad.
Yeah, his long-suffering wife, Gloria. But it really reframed it for me in a way, because I'm like, oh, okay, so they were specifically told this. This wasn't just like we don't want to be violent. No, we were told, do not do this and stay inside these lines. And when you guys get to the second season, I'm really hopeful to see how you guys react to that, because the second season, it's like I rewatched it when she gave me the DVDs. It says it's the complete series. It's not the complete series. It's just 65 out of 75.
Lies.
Exactly.
Because they repackage the final 10 episodes as Masks the movie. And I know in certain regions that's what they did, or it was a 3-part movie or something like that.
Yeah, they took half of them and stitched them together, because there's a lot, like it, because I, of course, as a dedicated fan, I found the movie and watched it after rewatching the second season. They left out one or two big episodes. There's an episode where they introduce Ali Bombay. He's basically him going back to his village. It's like, buddy, we just met you an episode ago, and now we've got your entire life story. What is going on here? There's a ton of stuff that is very different about the second season that is nowhere near.
We can't wait to get into season 2. But how about episode 40? So we open on San Francisco, the Big Tomato. I don't know. Is that his nickname? I'm going to use it. I love you, Bay Area.
Future home of Starfleet Command.
That's right. Future home of Starfleet Command. Oh, you're our guy, man. You're one of us, brother.
Yeah.
So we're in an ornate auction hall, and it's Matt and Bruce and Scott and T-Bob are there. And they're auctioning off this kind of wooden tribal mask. And T-Bob says $38,000, like regarding one of the bids, for a mask that doesn't even do anything. I hope I'm worth $38,000 when I'm 2,000 years old. And Matt says, you're already priceless, T-Bob. And T-Bob's response is, no, I'm already bored. Scott, let's go see Alcatraz, the famous prison. And I'm just like, damn, he's got an attitude today.
What's interesting is he's like, oh, it's a mask that doesn't do anything.
Right.
Boring. Doesn't fire a whip. Doesn't fire blades. Doesn't lift people. I am done. Real quick economics corner, mini corner. Just so people know, $38K and $85 is worth approximately $112,000
That is one
today.
valuable mask.
Yes.
And the $9.99 we would have paid for the Scott and T-Bob figure on the shelf is now worth maybe $15.
So,
although we'll go for probably $50.
Yeah. Well, finally, the next item up is the legendary crystal skull. And Matt gives a nice nod to Bruce, who starts the bidding at $50,000.
Did you guys have an issue with Matt nodding to Bruce? Why does he need to do that? Why does Bruce need to be his front man here?
I never understood that. I'm like, okay, you're the guy holding the checks. Why don't you sit down and take care of this? You can just write the check and say, here, that is mine. Forget the auction. Just give me
Is
the
he
thing.
forcing Bruce to pay for it himself? Like Matt needs to keep his money clean of this. So. If you remember a few episodes back, with the virus that made the currency disappear, he made Bruce use his own $20. So clearly, Matt has no regard for his teammates' financial situation.
But it's also like, okay, so maybe it's a situation where Bruce is doing this because does he think that if Bruce buys it, Bruce doesn't get that piece of his paycheck or something? Is this coming out of your pay, Bruce? If you get less, then you keep less, you know?
Oh, I get it. I get it. So he's forcing Bruce basically to be the best bidder possible. And it's like, look, you go over this amount, that's coming out of your pay.
That's it.
Can we also talk about the crystal skull, though? I mean, it's like the crystal skull, and the only time besides Mask that I've really ever heard that term used is Indiana Jones. So did Spielberg watch Mask, and was he inspired by it?
I think David Lynch just talked to Spielberg at their director's thing is, and they just said, hey, you should watch this show. And Spielberg's like, yes.
Or George Lucas did.
It was a rough set of years for George at that point in time, guys. I would just be careful. I mean, Lynch was having, I was rough for Lynch as well with 84's Dune, but I mean, George was going through some stuff.
Yeah, but on top of that, you're also thinking like, okay, so those are possible. It's also possible that Lucas and Spielberg, Lucas probably, were spending the 90s and the early 2000s watching Ancient Aliens.
Oh,
and that kind of stuff is all over that.
Okay.
That's the only other place I've ever heard of this. Exactly. You know what it is?
Yeah.
Aliens. That's what it is.
I want to get back to this point later on because I feel like there's some interesting connections with its origin story.
Shall we go to Economics Corner one more time here?
It starts off at $50K for the opening bid, which would be roughly $150K today. T-Bob manages to bid it up to $110K, which is about $326K. I don't know if Matt just didn't care because he just gave Bruce a dirty look, being like, you're paying for that.
Do you think he makes T-Bob pay for it?
Yeah.
He's going to work it off.
So you will work this off.
It doesn't cost me anything to have my robot that is probably cost about the GDP of a small country. It doesn't cost me anything to have that robot go do tasks for the people and not just rake in the money. That's it.
Well, suddenly the skull starts glowing and fires these laser beams that blind everyone. And when the light show stops, The skull is gone. Dun dun.
Did you guys love everyone's faces that point in time? They're like, like just plastered with ridiculous looks across the board.
All I could think was the Great Muppet Caper, where they took the picture initially and then see their eyes go like,
oh, yeah.
Matt runs up on stage because I guess he just gets to do that at the auction house. And the auctioneer is like, oh, Mr. Trakker, this is terribly embarrassing. You're our biggest buyer. And my thought was, must be very nice to be a billionaire.
He always gets the special treatment. Also, guys, I got a question. I can't let this go. If he's so well known as a buyer, why does he need Bruce to be the go-between? Is he trying to hide that fact from other people? Because the dude just shouted it there in front of everybody.
I don't think it's laundering. I think he's probably trying to pay Bruce so Bruce can pay off his gambling debts or his mail order bride. Who knows what other things Bruce could have gotten into. Bad investments. He's like, look, here's the money. You just take it and use it to buy this and I'll pay you the difference or whatever. Whatever you don't pay comes out of your salary or something like that. But yeah, this sounds like a legit
Quote
thing.
unquote.
He's trying to give him money, but he's trying not to give him money.
All right. A new dimension here we're going to have to keep track of. Like, is Bruce a decadent gambler?
Wouldn't you be? You've got access to a scanning system that can see everything all over the world in 1985.
I think you're laying into our theory that masks are the real villains of this show.
Basically.
Like, we have deep suspicions that Bruce and Vanessa were in a thing. And now maybe it's more of a thing, like that Bruce met her in some gambling joint someplace, Monte Carlo, and he's trying to impress her with some cash. Wow. James, blowing our minds.
A whole new vector into Bruce's life. Well, T-Bob discovers a trap door in the stage, and he falls into it, which leads to your standard mask underground tunnel.
Do you think Venom's got like a boring company contract where they actually get those machines?
Well, yeah. Well, they have the magma mole. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly.
Good call. Did you guys notice that the way T-Bob stood on the trap door was a lot like Solomon's Gorge? Same thing. We're falling into the well. He's got
a lot of well falling experience for sure. They find T-Bob down there. He finds a mini laser that was fired up into the skull to make it glow, which is a nice addition.
It's rave technology. So Venom really could have... They're missing out again on being able to resell this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, all you have to do is just bring it to the right place, toss some candy out into the crowd so they think it's E, and then just light it up. You're all set.
And let it rock.
There you go. Perfect.
I bet Vanessa goes to a lot of raves. And probably Sly, if we're being honest. So we have this beat next where this kind of like Colonel Sanders looking scientist comes up on stage. We did see him earlier a few minutes ago bidding on the skull, but then was outbid by T-Bob's flailing arms. Colonel Sanders explains that the crystal skull has special powers, and in the hands of bad people it could be very, very serious. He says it twice. So it must be really serious, I guess, if he says it twice.
I had this moment where and we're going to come back to this again, but that information would have been useful yesterday.
Yep.
Maybe to not have this go to an auction block. And what I really enjoy, if you watch the beat in between his various serious lines, like everyone rightfully give him the blankest stare in the world. So
like, who the hell are you?
Here's what happens. This old dude comes up and is like, it's very serious. Very, very serious. What do you guys do in that situation?
Well, also, and then he turns and walks away. Like, that's it. No follow-up questions. No, like, additional information. He just walks away. I'm like, who let the drunk old guy in here?
What is your name, sir? My name is Dr. Exposition. Bye.
But he doesn't even explain anything. He just says it's very serious. Like, is it serious if it shatters on the ground and you could step on it John McClane style? Or, like, what's the serious? Like, wait, what are you doing?
No. That's 3 years from now.
Well, we need to make room for the masked computer to be Dr. Exposition in this episode, right? Because after this, they're driving in Thunderhawk. Matt's paying no attention to the road whatsoever. It's distracted driving to the max. And he's just asking the computer to tell them everything about the crystal skull. And so the little download we get is that the Mayans created the skull, and anyone who wears the skull can see through solid objects.
Once again, things that could have been brought to my attention yesterday. Does Matt not do any research on the shit he's buying?
All he knows is it's expensive, so I want it. That is his logic, start to finish. It costs money, therefore I want it. The second it's worth nothing, he's like, get it out, throw it in the trash. I don't care. Give it to the homeless person.
James, I love it. He flew out to San Francisco with doing no research on these artifacts whatsoever.
Yep.
He saw price tags. Oh, that looks expensive. I'm going to put it in my library. But that information's in the computer. So let's build out the world a little bit. Does the Peaceful Nations Alliance know about it? Does the military, the CIA, some pervert? Why hasn't any of these guys gotten a hold of it yet?
Probably door number 4, the pervert. But honestly, it seems like if it's gotten to auction, that means they either were like, they found, here's my headcanon.
Okay.
Let's assume in this world that the crystal skull was discovered by Indiana Jones. He didn't know what to do with it. He's like, I don't really want to hand it to the government because the last time I handed the government something, it disappeared into a box and they don't want to show it or research it or anything else with it.
Men.
So instead, I will tell them to go, yeah, exactly, top men. Let's not repeat that mistake. This time, I'm going to make some money off this and put it into an auction. It got stuffed in a box, and only in 1985 was it picked up by somebody who's like, I'm going through my old boxes and such. I found this with the laundry here. Why don't you just go auction this off? I heard somewhere it has special powers. Let's use that and sell a couple things. So word gets out that there's a thing that actually is worth a couple bucks, but Matt knows it's worth a couple bucks. He's just like, I'm just going to bid on it and get it, and Gloria can use it on our date or something.
We know how their relationship rolls. Gloria would be like, no, I'm wearing it on the date.
Basically,
partially because I look frightening in it, and I get to see you naked, Matt.
I gotta ask, though, the Mayans created this crystal skull.
Did they?
Is such a thing even possible? I thought it was ancient aliens, honestly. I was like, they've shown that in the, that's who'd have the technology to pull this off.
Yeah. This is half the plot of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
But also on top of that, we have proof from the very first episode or two, like the Star Chariot. Like they clearly know that they're aliens. And I just love how Matt saw that and he's like, okay, you saved my kid. Great. Good for you. Now, what are we supposed to do with this? And it's like, you just proved aliens exist. How are you not doing something about it? And it's not even like the only time they've had. There's like one or two other times that like guys, what the hell?
He's a jaded billionaire. That's your answer right there.
It's like, all that matters is my money. It's either that or it's a situation like from They Live, where the rich people all know that they're aliens. Like, does Matt know that they're aliens? And he's just like, I'm procuring this for this dude from Alpha Centauri who just came by and was like, hey, I need this. We need this back. I'm just trying to tie it in with as many 80s movies as well.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, so it turns out that Miles is the guy who stole the crystal skull. Surprise, surprise. We're going to go test it out, right? See if it works. Jackhammer fires a hole in the wall of a bank, and they go to the safe.
Very subtle.
Hey, don't you think like that's what would set off the alarms? Like, I'm going to use this crystal skull to break into a bank, blow the wall open. Sly asks him, like, is this some kind of nickel and dime bank robbery?
So what I love about this is he can see his eyes. He doesn't have his shades on. He's got to be off the drugs.
It's odd, the episodes where they don't put his sunglasses on. I don't understand like what the animation note was there.
They were like, hey, he finally used his clear eyes. He got the eye drops together. He's okay. He's clean for one episode. And after this, he's probably going to drink.
Certainly after, after the events of the episode, he's definitely going to be back on the sauce.
Yes. The amount of pain he's usually in, I'm kind of surprised he's not on Oxycontin.
100%. So they go to the safe, and Miles puts on the skull, and it turns out he can see through the door. Cool. Sees all the money inside and gold and stuff. But somehow he's able to discern the code to the electronic lock on the door using the crystal skull. If it was just an analog, safe lock. Sure, I would get that. Turn the knob there. I see the pins falling into place or whatever. You can see electronic code with this.
Can I just give us a technology
Please.
corner here for a sec? I've been in IT for like 25 years. I can tell you absolutely with certainty there is no possible way to do that. Not at all. Like these things, even back in the 80s, they did what they could to prevent fingerprints being on them because everyone saw movies and everyone was like, yeah, let's not do that. Because there's no fingerprint coding. There's no way to tell what the code is. But technology corner,
unless they put the code on like a Post-it note on the other side.
That's the only way you can. And as an IT support, I see that constantly too. It's unfortunate, but it happens.
So you guys already mentioned this, but I was wondering if they were trying to be conspicuous at this point in time after blowing a hole in the wall, like oh, now let's be sneaky.
Yeah, it's like Jackhammer could have shot the safe door off as well. So what's the point?
I mean, it was a way to show the powers, so I get that.
Well, I mean, so you bring up a good point, PJ, is like there are so many different ways he could have tested the efficacy of the crystal skull. He could have been at the supermarket and like look into, a box of tricks to see what the toy inside is. He just could have like put the mask on and looked at Cliff. I mean, there's like, does it work? Does it work? I don't know. Let's go rob a bank to find out. Well, we cut to Matt and Bruce, and we're back in Thunderhawk, and they pass an alleyway, and they see Jackhammer and Piranha in there.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm curious. Like, unless there's a standard Venom license plate, like what Bruce sees is a motorcycle with a sidecar and a Bronco, and then jumps to the conclusion it's got to be Jackhammer and Piranha. Like, what if it's just someone else illegally parked? Do you guys ever wonder
would be
about
an alleyway?
This?
The whole point of these things is like you're supposed to be able to drive these things all over the place. So dial it back a bit. One of my things, I actually was trying to write a Mask movie, like a screenplay. I could never get past the logic of doing Mask these days because instantly you'd have anyone with a red Camaro would be a target. Anyone with a black Bronco would be identified as being a bad guy, or anyone with a big rig that looked and was painted like Rhino. I've had this happen in a parking lot where I've gone up to the wrong car. My wife has done the same thing. It's like you walk up to the wrong car and you're like, why isn't it unlocking? Why isn't it working? Because it looks exactly like yours. Then you look in the back and it's like, oh, hey, this isn't my car. Shit. So you walk away. But it's like, is there a sticker that he noticed?
Venom sticker.
See that eagle eye?
The back of it.
Because they're driving past and they don't see. How do you, like, Bruce, do you have that? Is your vision really that good? Are the contacts working that well? I mean, are you wearing your mask and is it in zoom mode when you pass by? What's going on here?
I mean, they make some comment about how, in the alleyway next to a bank on a Sunday, it must be Venom. Still, that's quite the leap in logic.
Exactly.
It just could be illegally parked, man. That's all.
Matt kicks Scott and T-Bob out of Thunderhawk and tells them to go ride the cable car and says, no funny business, you two. Based on their past experience with cable cars, this is probably not a good idea.
Well, it's also not a cable car. It's a
which is
street
an
car,
odd,
right?
Right?
Yeah.
Like, why does he say that?
Yeah. Maybe they didn't know what the right thing to call it. The only other option was to potentially bring them into battle.
Yeah.
But I question then, is that safer than San Francisco in the mid-'80s? Because I'm not sure that town was exactly where you wanted to be. No city really was in the mid-'80s.
I mean, you look and you're like, well, put it this way. Does Matt really think that there's going to be too much damage, given that he's only had to replace Thunderhawk twice now? Or have like serious repairs done to it? This is, again, probably one of the Father of the Year nominees right there, because it's like... What's worse, sending them into the dangerous city on their own? Does T-Bob have some kind of weird auto defense system that he's built into him? Like, is it like, with R2-D2 where he's got like a little shock?
Clearly not.
I feel like we can answer that question very soon.
Yes.
Meanwhile, inside the bank, Sly uses the crystal skull. I'm surprised Miles lets him, by the way. But nonetheless, Sly uses it. He sees Thunderhawk parked out front. And so Rax is going to go out to greet them in Piranha. Meanwhile, Miles uses the skull to look through the mask helmets, and he discovers, and probably the coolest moment in the series so far, that Matt Trakker is the leader of Mask. And I watched all these episodes when I was a kid. I remember very few of them. So this is another one where I don't really remember what happens next. Of course, I should have known and guessed that Miles would somehow forget what happens. But I was really wondering, would this carry through all future episodes? How cool would it have been if moving forward, Miles Mayhem knew that Matt Trakker was the leader of Mask, and the sort of complications that would ensue, the fact that it probably wouldn't be capable of going back to Trakker Mansion anymore, that they would actually have to probably be on the run, as we've surmised. You know, PJ, you and I talked about a lot in these past series of episodes where they're always in different countries. Of course not, but it's fun to imagine that's where the show would have gone.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what the implication here is, and it's like, if you had done this and just from here gone to the second season, that would have been a perfect bridge, and that would have made perfect sense. I think everybody would have been signed on right there with you. I think that was one of the biggest mistakes, to keep this as a bottle episode as opposed to like a keep this like continuity going, you know? I just get stuck on that transition between first and second seasons. And
I agree. The identity thing would be well taken care of at that point in time. Why it's okay to do high-stakes racing and not arrest Venom at every race is still a question that we'll need to get into.
That's for season 2.
This was freaking awesome.
It's really awesome.
This was awesome. It's a great moment. I really did dig, though. Like, it's a nice beat that Miles has no clue who Bruce is. He's like,
don't recognize him.
Guy? Whatever. Don't recognize him. Matt Trakker. That guy's public. It's the Bruce Wayne problem we talked about at the top.
Well, they get out of there. We go into the agent selection scene, and Matt asks for the agents best suited for a mission in San Francisco. I wondered what the parameters are for this in San Francisco in the 80s, but, you know, we actually end up getting good choices here. We get Gloria Baker, champion race driver, black belt in Kung Fu, team hottie, and Matt's wife. The computer says San Francisco terrain calls for driving skill.
My opinion on this was the computer has been watching a lot of Starsky and Hutch and is now or Bullet and Bullet. Why? It's not an or, it's an and. Just been watching like all of those shows. Like, oh, yeah, we're gonna need someone who can race in here.
And then we get Dusty Hayes, and the computer says proximity to ocean may require amphibious capability. Okay, not bad. Unfortunately, no escape scenes though. So this episode is sadly missing our favorite part, which is, how do they escape from whatever situation they're in?
I really would have loved the tagline from the computer saying, Brad Turner in area, unable to participate in mission, located at Haight and
Actually,
Ashbury.
that's what I was going to say. Well, Matt knows. He's like, cancel that last one, computer. Brad's a little bit indisposed. Everyone else approved. Disable Mobile Armored Strike Command. Well, meanwhile, we're with Scott and T-Bob just walking down the street, and suddenly Rax shows up and kidnaps Scott. And rather than do anything to help, T-Bob just screams, Scott! Now, I'd like to point out, being kidnapped off the street is entirely Matt's fault. Because he just told his kid, like, get out of Thunderhawk and go wander around. He absolutely would have been safer if Scott had stayed with his father. But of course, here's a Father of the Year nominee, James, as you alluded to earlier.
Yeah.
I'll say that Sly does kick T-Bob in the face because he goes tumbling into a plant. But unfortunately, we don't get the electroshock therapy thing, James, that you were hoping for as a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Better luck
also,
next
though,
time.
Sly can kick the 700-pound T-Bob
750 pounds
across the sidewalk and into a planter next to a building. I mean, maybe the dude's like amped up on PCP or something.
He probably has steel-toed boots.
Steel-toed boots. Or both.
Why not both?
Why not both? Exactly.
We should paint a picture here for a second, because when Sly arrives, he's got his full mask on. He's dressed in his standard motorcycle gear. And I want to point out that he's walking through the streets of San Francisco like this, and nobody calls the cops.
Whatever. There's like 5 guys in masks.
Whatever.
No, last time we called the cops, they got Clint Eastwood. Come on.
Few story points, though. Like, Venom knows who Matt Trakker is. We've established that. And they're intentionally kidnapping Scott because they know he's Matt's son. And it's like, okay, when did they know this? Because they have met Scott and T-Bob many times.
And it's not like the kid has different clothes or different appearances. He looks the same every time. It's like Matt doesn't have a laundry budget for the kid. He just gives him the same shirt and pants every time. It's like, I want you to be as recognizable as possible.
The question too is, I mean, as Matt is known as a public figure, does that mean that Scott is known as a public figure as well, just because he's Matt's son? Because otherwise, how did Venom know that this kid is Matt's son?
Does he hang out with the rich kids of
all the other Nepo babies?
Like that? Does he fly off to Aspen with Chelsea Clinton or head off with Michael Reagan or something? You know, is he hanging out with like President's son? Or is he hanging with what's the story there, Scott?
Yeah, really excellent. Because what we've mentioned a few times, he does have friends. We just don't know with whom.
Yeah.
But there's a question: if they know who Scott is, isn't kidnapping a billionaire's son always a good idea for a terrorist organization?
Every time, you'll get money.
Right.
They won't send Liam Neeson
after you. Got a couple decades before that's dangerous.
Look, gentlemen, Venom knows the identity of the leader of Mask. Scott's been kidnapped. T-Bob's been kicked in a planter next to a building. I got to ask both of you, what's going to happen?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
We'll find out after these messages.
Come on, T-Bob. Mask will be right back. Oh, boy. Back to Mask.
We're back. And so far, we've got a pretty decent episode, guys. Like, there's not much to really make fun of here up to this. I mean, we've made fun of plenty, but this kind of cliffhanger moment, Scott's been kidnapped, like, legitimately.
It's
pretty
scary.
scary. T-Bob's radio is not working. He goes kind of mad. Like, he completely blows a gasket. But then transforms into scooter mode and decides he's going to go save Scott himself. And I'm thinking, good luck with that.
You guys notice that he doesn't trust Matt to save the day. It's like a personal responsibility combined with Matt's not going to be able to pull this off.
So that leads in, I think the theory that I sent you guys a while back was, I think the reason he did that is because it feels like in order to get T-Bob as an AI working, whatever happened to Andy Trakker, Andy is probably Scott's real dad. And when Andy was critically injured, they were able to save most of his body, but his brain was basically toast. He was close to death. He got himself uploaded into a computer, and that computer got dumped into T-Bob at the last second because something happened in the hospital. This is a lot of the stuff that's put together for the movie I was trying to write.
That's a wild twist.
And
cool.
To basically say, he is in an accident or Miles tries to take him out and then afterwards tries to finish a job at the hospital. And then, we have T-Bob basically is Andy Trakker, but with like a big loss of memory. He can do a lot of computer things, but the problem is that you gave a computer anxiety, which is why we don't see a ton of T-Bobs out there. Matt abandoned the project. He just has the prototype, and that's fine. Point. But then Scott and T-Bob get close to getting, because Scott doesn't know, but T-Bob does inside his head somewhere know he's responsible for Scott for this reason.
That's and I love the take too. It's like, this is why in a world of Mask where a fully sentient AI is possible, A, it doesn't work very well, and B, they haven't mass produced this thing. There's only Brian the Brain is the only other one. I guess the Mask computer, but the Mask computer is kind of an amped up Chat GPT, really. Brian the Brain is the only one that's actually a fully functional AI. So that actually makes sense. That it was kind of a fluke. T-Bob gained sentience.
I like it.
Hey, look, man, our whole show is headcanon. Like, that's...
Yeah.
All we do is try to make up stories.
Yeah, we live
make sense.
We live on that all the time. So I'm treating T-Bob a little bit better from now on.
Well, we have a Piranha T-Bob chase sequence. And Rax is firing lasers at T-Bob, and he scores a kind of hit on the ground, which causes T-Bob to fly through the air and fall into a fire hydrant. Do we have a Ragdoll award here for T-Bob? The fire hydrant goes through him.
Yeah, but also you got to consider T-Bob is big. He's got a computer, and he looks like he's a solid thing. But how much is actually inside there? When he goes to motor scooter mode, that tire has to go somewhere. And there's probably a lot of empty space in there to accommodate the tire when he's walking around like a regular person. And he probably landed on that, and that shoots out. But it kind of makes sense. He's going to have to drain himself afterwards.
Well, I'm going to nominate you for the Writer Defense Award this episode, Jay.
Congratulations.
Well, we get back to the hotel. Matt and Bruce are there. Shouldn't Matt be a little curious where Scott is? It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your child is?
Should? Yes. But is anyone surprised? No.
No, not a chance. But again, that goes to the whole, like, is this actually his kid? No, probably not. This is his nephew.
So this actually then justifies T-Bob going apeshit to, like, try and get him back. Because he's like, no, Matt's not going to care.
So the phone rings. One of my all-time favorite moments in the show. The phone rings. Matt picks up. It's Miles Mayhem. And I just love how he sounds in this phone call.
Hello, this is Miles Mayhem. Would you be the leader of Mask?
He's very polite. And I just thought it's like he's trying to sell an extended warranty.
Because that reading is so good. Miles is having a great time.
Yeah.
My question for you guys, how did Miles get through the hotel's phone tree to get to Matt's room?
I'm calling for Matt Trakker.
DoorDash.
Because he probably stays under an assumed name, right?
Oh, of course. I used to do IT support for a major network. And I was privy to the secret names in the main address book for the company of who's who. I'm not going to say who, but one of them showed up as Chopper. There's all kinds of like weird names that people pick. So the people can't just hop in and just go searching through.
I love the idea of Miles having to be like, excuse me, I would like to speak to Mr. Butts, Mr. Seymour Butts.
So Matt's response is, you have a wrong number. Like, what kind of comeback is that's the best the leader of Mask has got? Nope, wrong number.
I really want Matt to put on a fake voice and be like, this is Joe Trakker, the plumber. Are you sure you have the right number?
Well, anyway, Miles reveals that he knows Matt is the leader of Mask and that he has Scott. And Scott pipes up in the background, don't listen to him, Dad. Scott is tough as nails. Then Miles lists his demands. The first one is that the Trakker fortune will henceforth be devoted solely to Venom's use. I thought that's a strange way to phrase that. Like, how about give me all your money?
I don't know if you guys thought this. I actually thought Miles was saying that more for the benefit of the rest of Venom in the room. Like, I think he's trying to communicate, Sly, you don't get to blow this on weed.
Yeah, basically.
And what I love about it is you see Matt's face when they get to the line about taking his fortune away. And he is so sad at the notion of losing his fortune.
Yeah. It's the saddest I've ever seen him in the show.
I can't wait my tears with $1,000 bills.
I mean, even when he thought Scott was dead in the Star Chariot episode, this is the saddest Matt's ever been.
Yes.
Right, exactly. His life has been built on his fortune, not the kid who has been dumped in his lap after the fact. This is...
Yeah. And then Miles doesn't even get to say any of his other demands.
Yeah, they cut the T-Bob. How much would you guys want to hear what those other demands
my question is why? Why would the writer decide not to do that and then do a cut to T-Bob? Because it wouldn't take that much, unless they were running short on time, like the episode was running long and they had to shave it down.
That might be what it is, because I can absolutely see them doing something like, have you ever seen the movie Airheads?
Yes.
They're like, we're doing fake hostages, and we're like, what demands are we going to have? I don't know, a couple of football helmets full of cottage cheese, nude photos of B. Arthur, that sort of thing. And it's like, are those the demands that he's actually giving him? Things like that, super weird things that he knows he can't do immediately? Or is there something else involved?
And that great recipe for brownies I heard you had. Oh, yeah, and the number of whoever did the paint job on Thunderhawk. Love that thing.
Give me the KFC recipe.
I want my brothers in arms who are imprisoned wrongly across the world to be released. Asian Dawn, Liberty, Quebec. Like,
no, dear. Asian Dawn.
T-Bob busts into the hotel room, and then we just, cut to Boulder Hill. And Matt is talking to Gloria and Dusty via the Big Brother screen at Mask HQ there. And he tells them to bring all the masks, the secret data files, the identities of all the mask agents, and the location of Boulder Mountain.
Whoa! Does anyone want to take a beat on this for a second? Like, we're talking about exposing all of their identity. Like, everyone's going to get a target on their back.
Here's the thing I want to bring up here. Like, we didn't actually hear all of Miles's demands, right? we can assume that these are his demands, but what if they're not? and Matt's just asking for all this stuff. Like, Miles, I'm going to sweeten the deal. What if you keep Scott and I throw in the identity of all the mask agents?
And let me keep my money.
Yeah, I'll give you all. Just let me keep the money. What about the kid? No, that's fine. I'm throwing him in with the deal. T-Bob points out the obvious. If you give Venom all that stuff, it'll be the end of Mask. Okay, thanks, Captain Obvious. But also, that's what I'm talking about when I mean stakes. In previous episodes, when he's carving his face on the statues on Easter Island, and I'm saying we need some real stakes in an episode of Mask, now we're cooking with gas.
Yeah.
Matt says they need to learn more about the crystal skull, and so they go find Colonel Sanders, Dr. Crowley, as we find out his name, from the auction. He explains that if he had won the auction, he would have returned the skull to the ground. And his quote is, "It came to us at the wrong time. The world is not ready for the powers of the crystal skull." Would the world ever have been ready for it? But anyways, he says it's got to be destroyed. Because the only way to destroy it is to look into its mirror image, and at the moment of destruction, all knowledge gained with it is erased from the mind of anyone who looked through it. So that's a clever way to reset everything at the end of the episode. Like James, you pointed out, that's kind of like in the Bible of the show, right? You've always got to wrap things up at the end, just the way they were. But also reinforcing his status as the Dr. Exposition of the episode.
Yeah. A couple things, though. I feel like we need to hold on this beat, because there's a hidden implication here that this is not the first crystal skull, right?
In fact, aren't there a bunch of crystal skulls on
otherwise,
his shelf in his office there?
But I mean, how would you know about what would happen that comes about from destroying it if there hadn't already been some example here?
Great point.
What else could the crystal skull do?
So it's possible that the reason they know all this stuff is not because they've had research or anything on it. It's possible that someone found the super secret manual from the Mayan civilization that found all this stuff in the first place. And because they've got to translate it from alien to Mayan to English, 1,000 different things got mixed up and convoluted along the way. It's like you convert something from PDF to Word, it's going to blow up 1,000 different things. You really want to trust this translation. Sometimes you get details right, sometimes you get screwed up.
Can we also hit on this point, too, about all knowledge gained is erased from the mind of anyone who looked through it? Like, who looked through it, actually, in this episode?
Yeah.
So what we've seen so far is Miles and Sly have looked through it. But I imagine Miles told Cliff and Sly about Matt's identity. So I had this question, like, is it so that it curses you to lose any knowledge obtained by looking through it, either directly or indirectly?
Well, yeah, like, is it... So the second you put the crystal skull on, from that moment forward, it appears at the end of the episode that they lose all memory of anything that happened. Because Miles is like, what's going on here? What are we doing here? As we'll find out in a few moments, right?
Right.
So there's some fuzzy logic going on here.
And do you guys think Cliff was just too dumb to remember? Because, I mean, he must have told, like, Cliff, we're calling Matt Trakker, who's the leader of Mask. Okay.
I don't know no Matt Trakker.
Or at the end of the episode, Miles is like, what the hell were we doing out here with this billionaire? And Cliff and Sly are both like, dude, you told us to go capture this guy because he's had a mask. And he's like, what are you, nuts? That's ridiculous. That's like saying Bruce Wayne is Batman.
I love that.
That fits with the MO.
Well, especially if it's just Cliff who told him. Miles, you told me Matt Trakker was the head of Mask. Like, shut up, you dunderhead. All right, well, Matt gathers the team. The deal is he's got to meet Miles alone on the Golden Gate Bridge at dawn. Very romantic. They need to figure out how to destroy the skull. And he says the very existence of Mask depends on this. And again, great stakes.
Yeah, I thought this would have been an amazing 2-part episode to draw. Because the thing I really hate is that so much stuff is going amazingly right this episode. And I just want more of it. I want the conversation where the Mask team members say, like, Hondo is like, look, I can get on that bridge and take Miles out from behind. It's an us or them situation. There's some real heavy stuff here. And drawing it out, bringing some stuff. I mean,
Well, to your point, I mean, he didn't know what the true stakes were when he called the team, right? So that's why only Gloria and Dusty are assembled. But this is an all-hands-on-deck type of operation. Like, that jet can fly pretty fast. You might as well go back and get the rest of the team.
Well, they haven't come out yet, right? Well, because he had to tell them at Boulder Hill to go pack up the mask.
Even if you got to dig up there with a scissor lift forklift or something and grab all the stuff and dig it out, you're still not talking more than like an hour or two to get everything together. You got to download all this stuff to the disk. Okay, fine, done, end of story. You pack everything into a special container. Okay, fine. But you're talking like maybe an hour or two worth of work, and then you hop on the jet, which I never understood where they stored that damn thing. Like, is it in the mountain? Is it below the mountain?
It's stored in the mountain right next to Airwolf.
Sure.
It's all one team. In this conversation, by the way, about the very existence of masks depends on this, and what are they going to do about the bridge, because Miles told Matt he has to be alone. Bruce comes out with this gem. Perhaps you can be alone, yet not alone. I want to strangle him. Like, yes, Bruce, that's the whole point, man. It's hardly even a Satoism. It's just like
it really
words
is.
that he said. Like, Because Dusty says, perhaps you can say something I understand someday. So right off the bat, boom, nice Buddy Hawks nominee there.
We were doing so well, Dusty. We were almost Buddy Hawks free this episode.
And then we have, it's great. I mean, this is actually classic mask stuff. Because we have a Satoism, we have a Buddy Hawks nominee, and here now we have a Matt leap in logic. Because for some reason, he's able to jump to the conclusion that T-Bob would go unnoticed by Venom, and therefore could be modified to help in this situation.
What the hell, Matt?
And Sly just saw T-Bob when he kidnapped Scott. He knows for sure he's involved somehow because he tried to save Scott and he kicked him in the face and shot lasers at him. So Sly would be like, hey, that robot is in on it. We maybe shouldn't have him around.
Okay, but maybe that actually works in the favor because now Sly thinks this guy's a pushover.
Okay. Well, now you get the writer's defensive one.
Well, I'll prove it out in a second when we get our next ragdoll. Right.
Well, it's dawn. Golden Gate Bridge. Mask gets into position, and Matt and T-Bob wait for Venom. And then Venom arrives to much fanfare. Like, they're firing lasers, and for the heck of it, Switchblade sprays, fog all around. Matt actually offers to throw T-Bob in with the deal. I thought it'd be hilarious if Miles was like, nah, it's okay. I don't want that thing.
That robot has always fucked shit up for me. You keep it.
I don't have a charger or anything. It's ridiculous.
Miles lifts up the skull to make sure that Matt brought all the masks. And then in that moment, T-Bob uses his Inspector Gadget arms and pulls Scott and the skull away from Venom. And I'm like, that was the big plan? After all this, after all the great stakes from this episode, that's what you came up with. All right.
I mean,
Matt knocks Miles and Cliff down with the cart full of masks, and then T-Bob gets some serious revenge against Sly by ramming him square in the chest.
Yeah, you look and you're like, okay, most of the time he's getting thrown around, and that's one that's one thing. But you get hit square in the chest without any kind of protective armor. You're asking for there's a reason they have the instant death punch. Rumor, that's definitely a thing. You can actually kill somebody if you put them directly in the chest like that. It's funny. It's funny as hell. But oh my God, you're going to kill him.
It's a Ragdoll Award nominee.
Yes.
For sure.
So I want to double down on your statement, James, because I did a little bit of the math on this. We've estimated T-Bob's about 750 pounds. Mm-hmm. Assuming he was running at 10 miles per hour, which I think is reasonable. Yeah. Then that is like 2,000 pounds on Sly's chest. He's dead.
No.
Like he got hit with a car going 60 miles an hour. Or a truck, straight force there. Not even. Oof.
Yeah. Well, R.I.P. Sly. See you in a minute. Matt grabs the crystal skull. Scott calls the mask team to move in, and we have our end of episode Mask Venom battle. Matt starts climbing up one of the cables on the bridge for some reason, which I was like, that's the best you got, Matt? All right. T-Bob extends a mirror from inside his head, so that's the big modification that was made. Matt just holds the skull up to the mirror, and the skull explodes And Miles and Venom forget everything.
So what's fun is that he's like, I changed my mind, Miles. You can have it back. And he tosses it like a grenade where it explodes in front of Miles and co.
Admittedly, he didn't know if it was going to have a big explosion, but you could probably assume something bad was going to happen.
Based on what the physician was talking about, it looks at itself and it's destroyed. That just means it crumbles into dust or something. I wouldn't have assumed a massive explosion.
Yeah.
But I just don't know. Matt, listen, I know you're in San Francisco. I know you appreciate Herbie Rides Again. I love it too. That doesn't mean you need to climb up there and chase whatever you're chasing right now, because this is not a dream. This is a real thing. Your kid's at risk here. What are you doing?
I mean, there's so many other places he could have gone than climbing up a cable on the Golden Gate Bridge.
100%.
They're thick as him.
I know.
What are you, Spider-Man?
No, I know. And they made it seem like very, very thin. Those cables are not that thin on the Golden Gate Bridge. Shark shows up, fires some firebolts at Venom, which sends them running, so we got them taken care of. Miles got off a shot of Viper and melted the cable, so now Matt falls over the side of the bridge and is hanging on for dear life, and the cable is about to break. Classic.
Hey, he's got his line. Hey, guys, I'm having a swinging time down here.
Classic. That's how he deals with his trauma. We have a great moment, too. T-Bob's mirror extender accidentally gets caught on Switchblade's landing bars, and he gets carried into the air and over Alcatraz. T-Bob kind of saved the day here, and now the writer was like, yeah, let's just toss him and beat him up a bit.
But also, it's like, talking about real world distances, that's not something that's right next to each other either. Yeah. And it's like, I know, I'm going way too real.
No, that's what we do here, James.
Dude, that's what we do.
If Shark is firing from San Francisco Bay, there's a reason that the Golden Gate Bridge is as high as it is to need to be able to fit up like aircraft carriers underneath on a regular basis. There's also the fact that Alcatraz is way the hell out there. Theoretically, you could swim there. Has it been done? Maybe once or twice. If he's really picking him up and dropping him somewhere, it's likely to land in the bay or, on land or something. But it's like, guys,
just do a little research. Look at a map. You can solve it here.
Most people don't want to go to the Rock.
Orla was the prom queen. It's the thing that bothered me about Assault on Liberty as well. When they had everything at the Statue of Liberty. First off, that whole subway they imagined between the statue and New Jersey and New York, that's a good idea. That's never happened, and it's never going to happen because nobody wants that happening.
Right.
Nobody wants that. But also, it's like the Statue of Liberty is not like 2 seconds away. It's a big stretch. The Statue of Liberty technically is New Jersey. It's just legally New York.
Well, we're back to Matt, and he is falling to his death, and instead of lifter being used or anything like that, Dusty uses the water hose on Gator to break his fall. I'd like to see the physics on that one. And now we get cut to the final scene out of nowhere. We're in Alcatraz, and they find T-Bob in a prison cell. It looks more like a zoo to me, but isn't it kind of like outdoors? Like, it doesn't seem like they're inside Alcatraz at all.
Thank God we paid off that joke, because T-Bob had mentioned Alcatraz a few times, and this was the linchpin of the episode right here.
And that's it. That's the end of the episode. We cut to the more you know. Scott and T-Bob are in bed. I mean, don't you think he just would have plugged T-Bob in and sort of he would go into standby mode at night?
Doesn't he need to not be in pajamas because there's tons of vents clearing out all the heat from his CPU or something?
Well, they look out the window and they see some people trying to steal a tire from a car in the street. Scott says he'll call the police, but then it turns out they were only trying to fix the tire. Scott's lesson is you should always call the police, even if you're not sure anyone's doing anything wrong. It doesn't hurt. And my thought, isn't that like swatting or doxing? You should always call the police. Okay, every time.
I just look at him I saw that. I'm like, what kind of neighborhood are you living in with this might actually be happening?
Well, exactly. If someone's trying to change their tire at 3 a.m,
it's possible they're not going for the tire. They're probably taking the catalytic converter.
Yeah, completely.
Fixing a tire and boosting a tire looks remarkably the same, depending on what part of the process you're in. Both involve taking a tire off. One, however, involves putting it back on. So did you guys notice they say they're going to call the police, but it doesn't seem like then they do.
Scott, what kind of neighborhood were you growing up in where you think you need to call the, like, yes, you should call the police, but how often is this happening that T-Bob's suspecting, like, oh, no, it's just somebody fixing their tire. And you're just like, call the police now.
When you're in a gated community like Scott is.
They're not even a gated community. It's the gated mansion grounds. Like, and also, what is Scott's real exposure to the police? Because he's got Matt, who has a vigilante team. It's more like, call Mask. And Condor comes flying in and fires like anti-matter rays at these poor kids trying to fix a tire.
You just killed your friend. He was just fixing his tire. He was on my property. He shouldn't
be silly, Scott. You don't have any friends.
He's not the right kind of person for my property.
All right. Well, then we fade out. So, shall we go to the awards, gentlemen? Any thoughts on Father of the Year?
Let's do it.
James, you first.
I was trying to find some other thing, but I think the big one right off the bat was the obvious. He lets him out of the car, the top secret safe car that's designed to let someone fly and not drop them when they fly around. I would trust someone a lot more in that car during a battle than not. But then I'm also like, what about on the bridge? He's just letting him sit there, and he's like, okay, we'll here's all the material, and we think, is it for him or just for his fortune?
Exactly.
Which one is it?
Exactly. And he doesn't say anything like, you send Scott over and I'll send the stuff. So, look, I've got no notes on that. I think leaving him alone in San Francisco in the mid '80s is the Father of the Year.
100%.
Buddy Hawks Award. What do we think?
Sadly, it's Dusty. We've got to make fun of Bruce after Asatoism.
Yeah, but the thing is, it actually wasn't very confusing at all. Perhaps you can be alone, yet not alone. Like, yep, I know exactly what you mean, Bruce. So Dusty is clearly just trying to rub it in Bruce's face.
My siblings and I'm the oldest of 10 kids. Yeah. So we all grew up watching repeats of Mask and all sorts of other cartoons. As the oldest, my tastes kind of dribbled down to the rest of the kids as well. We all like Star Trek. We all like, Mask. We all like, things like that. So we were talking at one point, and we're like, Dusty Hayes is a stupid hick. And like my sister says that, I'm like, oh my God, you're right. He really is. He really and they don't even hide how much of a hate to say stupid hick he is. It's like he's there to be the audience stand-in to say, okay, like someone has to say the stupid thing. Yeah. Here you go, Dusty.
No, and they lean into that trope so hard in this show that it's almost like a Buddy Hawks Award just for this portrayal of a quote unquote dumb hick.
100%.
So, all right, well, congrats, Dusty, on another Buddy Hawks Award. Sly Rax Ragdoll Award. What do you think, James?
I gotta give it to the 2,000 pounds of force slamming into his chest. There is no way you're walking away from that unless you've got like some kind of you got even if like some kind of armor on, you're really going to be walking away from that with a heart attack or something. You're going to the hospital. It's just a question of how fast.
Agreed.
100%.
But that kind of actually also then dovetails in maybe to the Roy Batty Award for the episode. PJ, what do you think?
I think we have a weird double award here where it's also T-Bop crushing his chest cavity with his head. Like, this isn't even like you're pissed off. It's like, no, I'm pushing your eyes into your skull now. Like, this is Roy Batty. He wanted revenge. You kicked me in the face. You blew me up. Guess what? Your chest is gone now.
Try insulting me when you don't have a heart anymore, asshole.
Love it. Okay, and then finally, is this episode Panda Poo?
Honestly, this is a great episode. It should have been a two-parter. It should have been expanded a lot. If you put this as episode 65 and then you had the racing series, it makes a lot more sense in that case. It makes so much. It's like, okay, that's when they figured this out. We have to do some backstory and transition between that. But it makes it, you're going in with a lot more built up that way instead of just like, yesterday they don't know anything. Today they know everything. What's going on,
100%. I could not agree more. I mean, this episode for me goes up there with one of our great ones. I think this becomes one of the four great ones where it's like we've talked about.
Well, the thing is, I agree with both of you. These are the best stakes we've had in an episode that aren't over-the-top Bond villain-esque stakes, like pulling a comet down. Similar to the last episode, though, I mean, there's a mask battle at the end, but it's kind of missing a lot of the use of masks, a lot of the, vehicles transforming, which is, remember, this is a show based on toys that transform into other vehicles, and then masked with powers. And we don't have a lot of it in this episode. So while the stakes and underlying concept for the episode are strong, the parts for us kids playing with our toys, what's the inspiration for playing with our toys in this episode? There's not a lot of it in there.
Yeah. I think I'm going to double down on James's thought here. And if we combine all this stuff together, like the Constructicons, this should have been a 2-part episode. You lay it at the very end of the series. And what it ends up with, it should be an all-out mask Venom battle. Take every single character that we have seen, and it is hey, we're going at it now. Then it ties directly into the racing series. I think it would work amazingly well. So again, I think it's yes, and we want more.
Yep. James, it has been so much fun having you on the podcast. I hope you had as much fun as we did.
Absolutely. This was amazing. I really hope you guys are able to invite me back at some point, because I really do want to keep this
Pick
going,
an episode somewhere ahead in the series and pick a handful, and we'll get you on, man. This was so much fun. It's always great to meet someone who's like one of us, who watched the same stuff growing up, who quotes the same stuff the way we do, like a fellow brother in arms here, man.
Yes.
This has been the dream come true, basically. Yes, thank you.
James, so great to have you on.
Well, now we're going to turn to episode 41. Next week will be stop motion. Venom obtains an EMP bomb and threatens to loot bank vaults across the country by knocking out all electronics for miles around. Now we're talking.
Yeah. Keep on the stakes and doing it right. I do have a bet for you for next episode, Adam. There's going to be 9 words that will make you say, wait, what was just said?
Oh, no.
I encourage you guys to watch it today to see what I'm talking about.
Well, looking forward to that one. But for now, this podcast has to transform and head back to HQ. I am Adam Moore.
And I am PJ McNerney.
And I'm James Riley.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The Mobile Armored Podcast Show is written, produced, and edited by Adam Moore and PJ McNerney.